not, frantic for this storm. We know what to do. We just prepare. We stick together. Everything's gonna be okay. So welcome, everyone. Welcome.
I thought you were talking about the storm about the election. No, we're not talking about. We're talking
all the
about
all the above.
all the above. All the above.
But everyone, you're in a safe place. This is the BPM RIA webinar for today. It stands for Broward Palm Beach Miami Real Estate Investors Association, your only local chapter here in South Florida that's approved and in compliance with the National Real Estate Investors Association. We have an incredible webinar today. We have Arlie in the house. We're going to get into Investor Real Estate Closings 101. And as you can see, we have our awesome mentors joining us today, Anish and Taryn. So I will just quickly give you guys some announcements because we have so much to talk about and I don't want you guys to miss a beat. But first off, we have the most generous raffle today, guys. Take a picture. I'll throw it in the chat for you as well. You will notice that I'm throwing some helpful links and information in the chat throughout the entire webinar today. So just know you can chat live with us, but if you have questions about anything, go ahead and drop those questions in the Q&A box in the bottom or wherever your Zoom menu is. But guys, take advantage of these live webinars. Listen up, text the word title to our event line 954-800-6961 if you would like the opportunity to win an entire closing fee waived $595 value. One lucky winner in this webinar will win this, and I'm so excited for whoever it is. I will announce it at the end of the webinar, and I'll be sure to throw that in the chat for you guys so you don't miss it. But we have so many upcoming events, as you guys know. We are not missing a beat for the rest of this year. Throughout this month, we have a ton of free webinars. This week, we actually have DPI Fund coming in for an amazing webinar. We're going to get into the benefits of investing in hedge fund during an economic downturn. So don't want to miss that. We have another free webinar coming up with Broward County Housing Authority of Florida. And then right around the corner, we will be meeting in Miami-Dade County, everyone. Well, we're coming in your area. We're going to learn how to wholesale and find deals for big profits over at the Hyatt Place in West Doral by the Miami airport. It's going to be an awesome free in-person workshop, 2 hours. Anish is hosting it. It's going to be a good time, but I have to let you guys know that there is limited seating for this workshop. So I highly recommend you go to the website. You can find all of these events on our website on bpmria.com over in the upcoming events tab. You guys will notice that I have beautiful pictures and things and pretty much a blog post for each and every event that we host with all the information, location, price, registration, everything. So go ahead and check out the website. I invite you to go there as soon as this webinar is over or whenever you can to register for all of these workshops. And I have so many people asking, when is Jose coming back, Advanced Tax Advisors? We're going to have him back in a couple weeks, November 22nd. So just so you guys know, everyone's like, when is Jose coming back? Here he is, he's coming back in November for you guys. And then we are wrapping up this month with an amazing, amazing workshop, free webinar with Sharif Medawar, who is one of Anish's, you would consider him a mentor, I think, Anish.
Yep.
So
I do consider him a mentor. Yep.
You don't want to miss that one. He's just a really, really awesome person to learn from. And I will be sending you guys information about this one specifically. I just have to highlight that one for a second. So continuing on to my favorite way to keep up with our events. If you would like text updates to keep up with the events, go ahead and text BPM REIA, all one word, to our event line. Don't call this number, guys. It's not a number that you can call. This is just for event updates and our raffles. If you want to keep up with our events via text, you get the registration link sent right to your phone, which everyone got a text message today letting them know of our webinar. Super easy, register straight from the text. Highly recommend that you opt in. so you can get those text updates on our events. And our boot camp dates, guys, take note in your calendar. We are pushing the boot camp up a couple of weeks because we have so many people that are asking, push it sooner, push it sooner. So we did. It is January 21st and 22nd. As you can see from the screen, we're going to get into a lot of amazing topics touching on wholesaling, flipping, and rehabbing. We have 4 incredible guest speakers on this training. I will be sure to put the link in the chat for you guys because I have all the information on the different speakers, topics, everything like that. If you attend this boot camp, you will get a booklet that you keep for life. You also get an itinerary. It's all live on Zoom. The entire training is led by Anish, our CEO and lead mentor. So this is an incredible place for you to learn with our new mentor students, with other realtors that want to learn some out of the box, non-traditional strategies. And then a lot of the people in this training will be people that are wondering if our mentoring coaching program is a good fit for them, if they need coaching, because this training is absolutely incredible. You may even be able to do deals right after this this boot camp training. So as you can see, Anish put a poll up here. Thank you guys so much for responding to the poll. I will send you, each and every one of you, a follow-up email today with more information on the quick start. And I definitely look forward to seeing you guys there. This is a great opportunity. It's Saturday and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's going to be a lot of good information. Thank you guys so much for responding to this poll. I love that. So as you can see, our members get all the goodies. They get in free for our in-person networking meetings. They get discounts to all of our workshops and the quick start training. Their guests get into our quarterly networking meetings for half off, and the amazing benefit package that we get through the National RIA that will get you a ton of discounts to Home Depot, Office Depot Business, Avis and Budget, just a ton of different vendors, Rent Perfect. Depending on if you're active in real estate, if you want to come to our events, then it should be a no-brainer to you to get the membership. And of course, we do have corporate membership opportunities as well. If you want to become a vendor partner and work with us to do amazing events and things, then please contact me, which you guys will get an email from me. And thank you guys for responding to the poll again. You guys are awesome. I look forward to seeing your memberships come through so I can send you a detailed email on all the ways to make the most of your membership with us. So I'll look out for you guys to reach out to me about that. Thank you. Thank you. And last but not least, one-on-one coaching and mentoring programs. A lot of you know that we offer one-on-one coaching and mentoring at BPM RIA, but a lot of you are wondering if this program is a good fit for you. I highly recommend going straight to the website, bpmria.com, and booking a discovery call with me so that I can get you all the information of what is included in our mentoring and coaching program. Our mentoring coaching program is extremely unique. It is truly one-on-one. We put up 100% of the money for our students' deals and split the profit 50-50. There's a lot of things that are included in this coaching program. We pretty much include everything you will need to do deals. So if that is something that interests you, if you want the brochure and more information, please, oh, thank you guys for responding to the polls. I love it. I know you're awake now. So go ahead and book a discovery call so we can get more information in your hands and you don't have to sit there wondering and thinking if this program's a good fit for me. You can go ahead and book the discovery call. I can get you information and also help schedule a 1-hour free consultation with a mentor so you can go ahead and discuss any questions you have about our mentoring program and your goals and all that good stuff. So thank you guys for always listening to my introductions, and thank you for everyone who is in this webinar right now. Thank you, Arlie, Anish, Taryn. Thank you guys for taking the time to educate us. We're always here to learn. We're excited. I know I'm excited. I'm just going to make a couple more comments. Yes, I'm looking at you guys' comments in the chat. We are recording this. So everyone who's watching the recording, You can find Arlie right on our website right now. But thank you guys for being in here live, because if you are here, you will have a chance to win our raffle, and you will get a chance to chat live with Arlie and ask Q&A questions live here with her. It's not every day that you spend an hour with somebody with 22 plus years of closing industry experience. We don't take this lightly here at BPM RIA. That's why we have these incredible webinars. So I will be chatting with you guys in the chat box, but make sure to filter all of those questions in the Q&A box, wherever it is, up, down, don't know, just hover your mouse over around your menu and you will see a Q&A box. We don't want to miss any of your questions. So that is all from me, guys. I'm excited to have Arlie here. I'm going to stop sharing and let's do this thing.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexa. So I do see some new names on there. If you guys don't know, as Alexa mentioned, I'm president, CEO, BPM RIA. I've been in the real estate world for 20 plus years. I know it's hard to believe because I look so young, but yeah, it's true. I've been doing this for a while. And one of the cool things is, having the RIA, the backbone of our business is having vendor partners. One of the cool things, Arlie is, first of all, a real estate investor herself. I think I've known her, I might be wrong on this, Arlie. What are we on, like 5, 7 years, 8 years, somewhere around there?
Yeah, it's about 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, so she's like, in her world, she's probably too long, but especially with all the emails and the constant questions I have, and our team, we're always, hey, what about this, Arlie? Can you fix this? So one of the cool things out there, there are a lot of title companies out there. And, one of the things that really separates, I think, Arlie from most other companies out there is her customer service is beyond anyone else's that I've seen. I mean, I've seen emails at 6 a.m. I've seen emails at 7 p.m. on our closings. I've seen her drive or send somebody to get a closing done to all hours of the night. And she goes above and beyond because she knows what it's like to be an investor. And, without a doubt, being one of the most investor-friendly title companies here in South Florida, it really makes a big difference, because I am not a title expert. I don't want to be a title expert. But, a quick phone call and Arlie has the answers for us. So that's what I'm super happy. Also on this webinar, some of you guys might know Taryn. She's one of the lead mentors in BPM RIA. She's also one of my partners on the fund that we're going to be doing Thursday. And she's been also a long time real estate investor herself. So, and she's part of the same, we're part of the same mastermind. I kind of joke about Taryn's my work wife. More often than I got a regular wife at home and I got a work wife. So you guys out there, you understand I have no freedom whatsoever. So my wife at home takes my money, and then my work wife spends my money there too. So I'm kind of, I might have to look for a little part-time job, but that's another webinar in itself that I'm going to talk about. So we're obviously very excited. I'm going to put Arlie on a spot. So, on this, I know you're giving away that raffle for one closing fee for one lucky winner. I feel like today you're very generous. So would you be open that anyone on this webinar on their first closing with you'll waive the closing fee?
Well, then it wouldn't be fair to the winner.
Well,
but what I could do is
Okay.
I could give an additional $200 off for the closing fee. But if I
Okay.
give away the whole closing fee, then it's not fair.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So, and if you've watched our webinars in the past, Taryn and I have done a negotiation webinar in the past, and that's your free negotiation. So I just saved you all $200.
$200.
$200 for showing up. Another paid, we're always paying people to watch us, which is a little crazy on that end of it. And then the other thing, Taryn, before we even get started on the webinar, do you want to talk about what's going on in 2023? BPM RIA, as the owner, again, it's about the community. And, we've been doing a lot of different things as a real estate investor association. And, Taryn, if you guys don't know her background, and I'll let you do a little quick 1 or 2 minute on that end. But if you want to announce what you want to announce.
I mean, you've done a really good job of like saying all the different hands, pots that I've got my hands in and things like that. So, one of the things that I was really excited about was a few years ago is when we built out Woman Wholesaling Houses, right? It's a Facebook group. It's got 26,000 women in it. And I was running meetings in 10 different cities at that time. And then COVID happened and we kind of let it go. And so I'm really, really excited to announce that BPM is going to have their own women's subgroup. And it's going to be I'm going to be running it, and it's going to have woman vendors like Arlie, who's a woman-owned company. We're going to have women that in different areas. In the past, we've had, somebody that does lien reductions, and she's an attorney and things like that. So very, very excited to be hosting these meetings coming up into 2023 for women to, because at the end of the day, this is a very much a man's industry. I'm busy doing a rehab right now, and I'm getting told by all the men in my life how to do it, right? So it's really fun to have a safe space for women to ask their questions and the things that we deal with that men don't necessarily deal with in this business. So I'm super excited about that. More details will be coming as we flesh it out for the year. But make sure you're following our event page and things like that. And I definitely will have at the first meeting, for BPM RIA, we'll have more information for the meeting in January. So
yeah, and if you guys have any topics specifically that Taryn could help out with, and I know what you guys are talking about. You guys can't dress up and I don't know and try to attend these events. No, but we're again, like for us, Taryn and I, we've spoken about this, and it's correct. Like unfortunately, there's things that you do have to go through, or women have to go through, that men do not have to go through in a male-dominated industry. So we want to actually be inclusive and really kind of raise those standards where it's an equal playing field, because there's times like Taryn will say, hey, what about this? And I don't understand this happens to me and I don't get it, so that's one of the cool things. And we'll have a lot more new announcements for 2023. So, keep your eye on the ball. And today, now, the real star of the show is Miss Arlie Ortiz. That, as I said, so we're going to hand it over. Remember, questions in the Q&A, and I'll let you have the floor. So,
okay, let me share my screen so I can tell you a little bit about myself and share. So I hope y'all can see my screen.
Yep, looks good.
Okay, good. All right, so my name is Arlie Ortiz, and I am the owner of Concierge Title Agency. We are taking you from contract to closing with ease, and I do have very much pride in that, and I'll explain to you in a little bit of why. So a little bit about me. I am the president of Concierge Title Agency. I have been in the business for over 22 years. I'm wrapping up my 22nd year this year. I started up in Orlando, Florida, back in 2000, and I worked my way up in the industry. And then in 2014 is when I decided to pursue my title license, and I obtained it. And then 2022, I decided to open up my own company. So a little bit about my company. We are a proud member of the fund, and a little bit about the fund. That's our underwriter, which is underwritten by Old Republic. It's called Attorneys Title Insurance Fund because they focus on attorneys and have only attorney members. So I am, if not the only one of 0.0025 members of the fund that is not an attorney. So that is a big achievement. We do pride ourselves in customer service, as Anish said. I know how it is to be an investor. I am an investor. I actually went through the mentoring program with Anish a few years back. Actually, Taryn was in my class. That's how we met. So I know what it's like. Real estate does not sleep, so I don't sleep. If I can add an extra day to my week, I would. We do have the top of the line closing software. When I opened up Concierge Title Agency, I decided to switch softwares, and it allows for secure emails, secure communications, a secured portal. We do obviously have education and seminars. So the seminar that I'm doing today is very basic. It's 101. And as we move along in the years, I will definitely have more advanced seminars. But as an introduction, I'm going to, start at the basics. We are definitely investor friendly. Like I said, I am an investor. A lot of my friends are investors. So I'm here for you guys. Knowledge and experience, obviously, and competitive prices. I have special pricing for my investors versus the regular transactions. If I receive a written quote from another title company and we're able to match it, we'll be more than happy to do so. And obviously much more.
Before you move on, Arlie, when you're talking about the fund, one of the things that you told me about it that was like a big deal for me is how quick can you get your title commitments because you are part of the attorney-backed fund?
Well, because of the relationship I have with our underwriter, my commitments turnaround time is usually 48 to 72 hours. And if I have to wait any longer than that, I kind of get a little nervous, like what's actually going on with the file. But they let me know in advance if they can't get it to me within the 48 to 72 hours. Rushes, I can probably get in within 24 hours.
Which is a huge deal for fast closings, right? So,
Correct.
Occasionally I cheat on you and I go to other title companies and then they're like, oh yeah, title commitment 2 weeks, but we have a sale date happening in 7 days. So that sort of thing is it's a huge standout point for me on where I'm taking my files and why. So I really wanted to highlight that that's a big benefit of being with that fund.
Yes. Definitely is. You have to have a good relationship with your underwriter in order to get away with a couple little things. All right, so enough about me. I am going to get right into it. So you got your contract accepted. You've done all the door knocking. You have done all the phone calls, and finally, the seller says, "We'll accept your offer." Well, you haven't gotten to this point yet before, so it's like, oh my God, what am I doing now? First things first is securely make your deposits. So Concierge Title has partnered up with Payments.io, and they allow for direct payments, which means you don't have to wire anymore. You don't have to know my wire instructions. You have your own account. You set up your account, and you only have to do that one time. And any contract that you have, you can securely send your payments through there. I have Wendy on the line from Power Payments. Alexa, were you able to send her a panelist link?
I actually did, and I'm trying to promote her as a panelist, but I don't know if she's seeing it. So Wendy, if you hear me, I'm promoting you as a panelist, and please accept.
Well, while we wait for her, if you want to scan the QR code, that takes you directly to my payment link. And so if you have future closings, you already are set up and you can send your payments that way. While we're waiting for Wendy, while you're making your deposits, you also have to schedule your inspections. Now, if you're savvy with the contracts, you hopefully have 15 business days or more to do your inspections. That way you can back out your contract without losing your deposit. But if you have a savvy seller and they say 0 inspection period, then you need to make sure everything is done before you sign that contract. Make sure you do all your due diligence. But if you do have, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry to butt in, but can you just talk about, because I think what people don't understand why it's important to have the system that you set up versus the wiring, about the fraud, like what you've seen, or that why it's a lot more secure by you spending the extra money to have this kind of software.
Yes, and that's why we have Wendy coming in shortly. So as you know, wire fraud is on a rise. You have no idea how many times I've been at a closing with the seller in my conference room, and I receive an email saying, "This is Mr. Seller. I've changed my mind. Please send my wire to somewhere else." Obviously, that's fraud. I have Mr. Seller in my conference room. So wire fraud is definitely something to keep in mind, because if you are a victim of wire fraud, you're most likely never going to get that money back. And it's a lot of times it's people's life savings and it just goes. The secured portal is a direct pay from you to our account, no intermediary person, and you don't have to have any wire information, and I don't have your wire information. So Wendy, are you ready?
Yeah, she's on.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, so I'm gonna stop sharing, and then Wendy, if you can take over.
Absolutely. Share my screen here for just a minute.
Perfect. Awesome. It's loading. We see it. Awesome.
Okay, very good.
Perfect.
I'm not used to Zoom meetings, so pardon me. Now you guys are all little on my screen here, but just to introduce myself, my name's Wendy Baya and I'm with Payments.io, and we are super excited to partner with Arlene and Concierge Title. It's going to be an amazing tool that she has to offer all of you, to differentiate herself from the other title agencies. It's a quick and easy way for your clients to deposit their earnest money securely and quickly. So our platform is all web-based, so there's no app to download for a one-time use, and it's accessible through any device that it has internet capability. So you can make your earnest money deposit through the comfort of your own home. We've even had clients on vacations where they were on a ski lift where they made their deposit if they're out of the country. So it's super easy to use. So if you can see my screen here right now, I'm going to walk you through the process of what your client will do take the steps in order to initiate the transfer. So this is the first page that they will come to here. This is the landing page where they'll go ahead and create an account. So they are asked to enter their first and last name and their mobile phone number. Now, if a client has already created their account, they'll just simply go ahead and click login. Let's see, I'm going to jump over to our other screen here. Can you see that in my payment screen now? Okay, awesome. So in order to make a transfer anywhere where you see payments.io, it will have all of Concierge Title information here, but I want to walk you through the steps and
Wendy?
actually make a transfer.
We're
Yeah.
still seeing your sign-in page. I think.
Oh, okay. Let's see, new share. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Told you I wasn't familiar with
I've had that happen before and people let me talk for 20 minutes before I realize I can't see what I'm showing them.
Can you see it now?
No.
Oh,
Are you just trying to share one page?
yeah, the payments.io where it says.
Yeah. Try to stop share and share again. That'll fix it.
Okay. All right, how about now?
Still the login screen.
But does it say payments.io at the top?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I want to be on. So
Oh, okay.
anywhere where you see payments.io, we'll have Concierge Title information and it will say welcome to Concierge Title. So it has the payments background on it just because this is our demo environment and it actually allows me to make a transfer without really making a transfer. So the first bit and pieces of information that the client will do is they'll add their first and last name and their mobile phone number. So everything is done through the mobile phone number. And so I'm going to click create an account. And I am not, here we go. It's just a little bit lagging there. So then I will receive my authentication code through my mobile phone. And back to the question, if you guys deal with investors a lot, we do ask for the last 4 digits of their social security number. So if it was an investor and they have a business account, it would be the last 4 of their EIN or FEIN number that they could use there. So we ask for that personal information as well as their date of birth. And then their email address. Also, the address that's associated with their bank account or their current address is asked for here. And we ask for this information for a LexisNexis check and also a KYC check, which KYC stands for Know Your Client. So this just ensures for everybody's protection that your client is not on a do not loan list and does not have a history of fraud. So our platform is at the highest level of security. It's at bank level security at 256-bit encryption. And that information that we ask for with the social security number and date of birth are stored into 2 separate silos. And also they are purged after 6 months for compliance reasons. So the next screen that they'll be taken to is where they're going to link their bank accounts. So we're going to go ahead and find our bank. And what this happens is it takes us to Plaid. Are any of you guys familiar with Plaid at all? Okay, I never was really either, but I'm sure you guys have used it. So Plaid is the institution that connects our platform and many other ACH platforms with their financial institutions. So if you use Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, any of those type of apps, you've used Plaid just behind the scenes. So we're taken into the Plaid screen here, and the most commonly used banking institutions will populate first. Now, Plaid has about 17,000 financial institutions on their networks. So we find that a lot of credit unions, there's about 98% of the majority of the banks are affiliated with Plaid. So your client, if they didn't see that their account was populated here right off the top, they can go ahead and type it in. So I will type in my Chase bank account per se, and you'll see 2 different options come up. So if the client's bank did not populate here, they can always link with account and routing numbers. So they would just select that button there and enter their account and routing numbers. However, that process does take an extra business day. So they will receive 2 micro deposits within a 24-hour time frame, and then they'll go ahead and be able to initiate the transfer from there. So I'm going to use our Chime bank account today. Any questions so far? Okay. So at this point, your client is actually taken into their online banking credentials. So whatever their online username and password is, they'll enter it there. So now we are connected through Plaid, and you will see we have 2 accounts that automatically populate here. And these are the accounts that are eligible to make transfers. So the only accounts that would not populate here would be a money market account, which, because that's a non-transferable account. So we're going to go ahead and select our savings account and click continue. Again, we're connecting through Plaid, and then we can see our linked bank accounts. So on the left-hand side, the client will actually have a small dashboard here that they can refer to. So if they click on bank accounts, they can see any bank accounts that may have been linked through our platform. They can see their transfer history. So if they're a repeat client or require additional earnest money that have come in, they can see their transfer history here, as well as Message Center that provides them the receipts too. So the most important thing to point out is that we do have a 1-800 number that is our support line. It's available 365, 24/7. So your client also has the opportunity, if they get hung up in the process, to go ahead and call our support line. But pretty much, it's taken me a little bit longer to go through the explanation, but we find that it takes about 2 to 2.5 minutes for the client to complete this transfer process. So it's pretty straightforward and easy. So you'll see that we have our Chime bank account here, the last 4 digits of the account that we're making the transfer, and then also the balance. So the balance is time stamped. So if a client did not have sufficient funds in their account, they would not be able to proceed. So we're going to go ahead and click make a transfer, select that account again, and click continue. So the next screen is your transfer detail screen. We give you 3 different options. So we're going to go ahead and select earnest money. And then at that point, the client is given the opportunity to enter the real estate agent's name, email address, and also phone number. Those are optional fields. But if the email address is entered in there, that realtor will receive a notification once the transfer has been initiated, and then once it's been completed as well. Another required field that is helpful for Arlie is that there is a requirement to enter the property address of the house that they are purchasing. So sure that earnest money comes through and not all the time is there a contract or information associated with that kind of information. So at least she has a property address, a client's email, and also valid phone number to reference to. So if the clients want to add any additional notes, that's an optional field. They will go ahead and enter the transfer amount for the earnest money twice, just to make sure that the decimal point and the right amount of zeros are entered in here. So for today's purposes, I'm going to go ahead and put $210, even though I see that my account balance is only 200. Ooh, that's too much. And if I go ahead and click review, it won't let me proceed because I don't have the available funds in there. So we're going to go ahead and put $190 in for our earnest money deposit. Sometimes our demo environment has the ability to have the transfer fees passed along to the client. So it may have that backed into this. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit $190. This destination account will have concierge title information here, showing payments.io since we are in the demo environment. And this actually will not populate down here where there's select an office. This was set up for a different purpose. So it will just, this won't even appear there. So there's no confusion with what office to transfer the money to. So we're going to go ahead and click review. And at this point, this is the last opportunity the client will have to review and make sure everything's correct before submitting the transfer. So you'll see that the transfer is coming from their Chime Bank account, and it will have concierge titles information here at the transfer to stage, transfer date, the purpose of the transfer, subject property, office will not appear, and any notes if the client entered any notes. So you'll see the earnest money deposit is $190, and then a convenience fee of $10 will be charged. Arlie, I forget how much are you passing along the convenience fees?
Yeah, it's $10. But due to time, we're gonna have to move to the next slide.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. So this was the basics of what you're going to do with the direct transfer. As you can see, it is very, very secure, and I don't get your information. That is part of your personal account. And obviously you can definitely keep track of all the transfers that you've made. And as soon as you make the transfer, I get notification that it's been initiated, and then I'll get the notification the very next day that I have the funds. I've already had a few clients use this portal, and it's been great. So it's saved a lot of time for them because they are repeat clients. So the next closing that they do have, they just log in and go transfer the deposits. We are going to start accepting the cash to close through this portal as well. As long as the cash to close wire is initiated or a transfer is initiated at least 24 to 48 hours prior to ensure that the funds are at our office by the day of closing. So thank you so much, Wendy. That was awesome. I am
Thank
going
you.
to, I appreciate your time for being here.
Thank you very much. And let me know if anybody has any questions. I'm happy to help. I'm very excited for our partnership.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so the next thing, okay, I was saying is the inspections. Make sure you schedule your inspections within your allotted time on your contract to ensure that if something does come up, you're able to get your deposit back. Once you pass your inspection period, it's going to be extremely hard to get your deposit back. The seller will sit on that and definitely make sure that they
So
fight for that
Harley,
deposit.
you're talking about getting this deposits back, and this is something that really stuck out to me when I was first getting started, right? As a title company, do you get to choose who gets the deposit back?
I do
if
not.
if I'm pissed off at the seller, can I just be like, Arlie, I want my money back?
I'm sorry. I need a fully executed cancellation. That's the agreement between the buyer and seller on where that deposit goes. So if I get one cancellation from you as a buyer, and then I have another cancellation from the seller saying they're claiming the deposit, that deposit is not going anywhere. It's going to stay in our trust account until we have an agreement by the buyer and seller. And normally it doesn't get very far, but normally it's split. And that way, everybody's happy. I've seen some sellers say, absolutely not, I'm taking it. And they've taken it all the way to, the end and won. It's the contract and they're going to spend more money to get a deposit, but sometimes the deposits are hefty, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, and that's worth the fight.
Right. And so the title company is a non-biased third party that's
Very neutral.
handling the transaction. And so for those of you, who are investors, that was something of a surprise because everybody was like, oh, well, if you cancel inside the inspection period, you can get your money back. And so I had a deal very early on that this happened. And it was like, well, he hadn't signed the cancellation. So my money was stuck in escrow. And it stays in the escrow account of the title company. Is that correct, Arlie? Until an agreement is made either between the two parties or if it gets taken to attorneys and further on.
Right.
Yeah.
So while you're juggling all that, you also have to make sure if your property is in an association, it's governed by an association, is there an approval process? Because if you find out you are an association, there's an approval process, they can take up to 30 days. So you want to get started with everything early: deposits, inspections, HOA approvals. Okay. Next, your title company is your team. What to expect from your title company, especially as an investor: transparency, communication, experience, and problem solving. I've had Taryn call me up at 9 o'clock at night sometimes. Arlie, this happened. What do I do? So I'm not saying that I am available 24 hours a day, but I am there for you guys as much as I possibly can. And I do answer emails at ungodly hours. I try to be as transparent as possible, especially with the closing process. If something comes up, I let them know immediately and not wait till the very last minute. I try to order everything early in order to know if anything comes up, if there can be any possible issues. And if there are issues, how we're going to solve it, in a timely manner. Some things are out of your hands, and, it's up to the city to clear some things, and, working with the city, it is what it is. But, you do the best you can with what you have. And as long as you have the right team around you, you'll be able to get to that closing. Ask questions, ask as many questions as you possibly can. You're not here by yourself. Yeah. So if you have questions throughout, obviously ask it. But for your title company, ask them, are they investor friendly? Do they have special prices for investors? Do they allow double closings? Because believe it or not, there are some companies that will not do a double closing. You will have to close and then wait and then close again. Okay. And do they know short sales? Do they have a designated short sale negotiator? Or is it just an employee that's working there and in between files calling for you? And can you represent me in my sale? So you bought it and now you're selling it, you rehabbed it, you're selling a couple months later, but the buyer chooses their own title company. Can the original title company represent you and prepare your documents for your sale? And can you prepare the contract for me? There are some title companies that won't prepare the contract. Some title companies do. I have bought the licenses for the contracts and I'm able to help prepare contracts for our clients that just need to know the details and what you want on that contract. I cannot tell you what to put in that contract. You have to tell me what to do. Again, I am Switzerland. I cannot tell you how to go about your closing. I can tell you what would happen if you choose one or the other, but it'd be ultimately up to you and how the contract is prepared.
So I'm going to jump in here, Arlie. Go back
Okay.
to that slide. So it's so important to have a good person in title on your team, right? And so these questions are phenomenal to ask, but you also want to ask, like, you know, how do they best work with you? So for instance, when I have closings and I get to pick the date, I try not to pick the end of the month, because I know that when I work with Arlie, she has 12, 15 closings on the last day of the month. Right? So if I can choose to do it a couple of days earlier or a couple of days later, I'm going to do that. I don't call her on the last day of the month and ask a silly question, because I'm cognizant of how she's operating, right? But I know that because we've built that relationship up. And so being transparent goes both ways. They're going to be transparent with you, but if there's something that you're dealing with, I've called Arlie a couple of times and been like, hey, listen, this is my problem. What if I do this? And she'll laugh at me and she'll be like, no, Taryn, you can't do that. Or she'll be like, yeah, you could probably do this, or we could do it this way. So you can utilize them to help you solve the problems during a deal. And I can tell you right now, Arlie has saved more deals on the table that would have fallen apart at another title company, just because of the ability to have those conversations and think through a problem.
Thank you, Taryn.
You're welcome. I got paid to say that.
Yeah. All right. So about Taryn, you'll see I kind of use one of your closings here, but my closing software. This is the client portal. This is what you'll see, the top part of it. So it's a secure login. I don't even know your password. You have your own username and password. You log in, and the top part is our phone number, what property, their phone number, the closing information, and whatever realtors are involved, listing agent, selling agent, and their contact information. Also, the bottom half of the portal, you're going to see the buyer's names and the seller's names. And what I love about it is the checklist. You know what I'm still waiting for. You know when I've ordered things. You know when I receive things in. So it's just you can have 5, 6 closings going on at one time. They're all in the portal. You can go in and say, oh, okay, I see that she's ordered the commitment. I see that the buyer sent in their escrow deposit. Great. Title's ordered, lien search is ordered. Everything is in. Perfect. And in the document section, you'll see that once I give access to whatever documents you're allowed to have access to, you'll be able to have those in your searches and, all the permanent information that you're allowed to have. Now I'm going to go a little bit into the world of title. This is what I do. I sell title insurance. So what is that? I don't hear very many people every day waking up one morning and saying, I want to be a title agent. This is what I want to be. No, I hear, what is title insurance? So title insurance, it protects the buyer against losses and defects of title. What I like to say is from the beginning of time through the day of closing. We search the public records. We look at whatever was recorded, the deeds, to make sure all deeds were transferred correctly, legal descriptions were written correctly, any mortgages or judgments or liens that have been recorded, that they were satisfied correctly. So that's important for a buyer specifically when they close, if they're living there for 5 years and all of a sudden they get a knock on their door and they hear foreclosure is being serviced. Well, we paid cash. Well, the previous seller decided, without letting anybody know, right before closing, taking out another mortgage, getting their sales proceeds at the day of closing and running away with it, but never paid any of it. So you're stuck with it. The title insurance will kick in and make sure that your interests are protected. So that way you don't have to spend the money for the court costs defending your rights to that property. Who pays for the title insurance? In the state of Florida, it depends on the county. Like I said, I started in Orlando. So in the rest of Florida, the seller chooses. They set up their house for sale. They choose who the closing agent will be, and that's that. In Broward and Miami-Dade counties, it's backwards. It's the buyer. The buyer will choose the house, the buyer will choose the title company, and the buyer will pay for the policy. If you notice on the contract, there's 3 options. There's seller chooses, buyer chooses, or Miami-Dade clause. And that clause says the buyer will pay for the policy, but the seller will pay for the searches. If you choose the buyer chooses, then the buyer will pay for the title and the searches. And obviously, if the seller chooses, the seller will pay for the searches in the title. Is the title insurance required? No. However, if you obtain a mortgage, the lender will require you to obtain title insurance. If the lender sees the benefit of obtaining a title insurance to protect their interest in the property, why wouldn't a buyer want to protect their own interest in the property? I have had some buyers say, I'm not going to buy this title insurance. The lender has it. That's all I need. Well, if something comes up, the lender's protected and now you have to pay out. It's very simple. So it's a very important document to have, insurance to have. You only pay it one time, and it's not like homeowners insurance that you pay every month or every year. It's one-time payment that you pay, and you are protected starting when you purchase the property. So this is what a title commitment looks like. I have it in 3 pages here. This is my Bible. This is what tells me what I need to do in order to get to closing. Okay, so Schedule A, which is page 1, that tells me what the property is, who the owner is, who the buyer is, if there's a lender, how much they're buying it for, and the legal description. If by chance, number 4, which should say the seller, does not match the seller that's listed on your contract, we have an issue. We have to find out why that contract was signed by a different person than was actually listed on title. So that's my number 1 clue. That's my eyes always go straight there to make sure this person who's selling the property has the right to sell that property.
So does it help, Arlie, when somebody brings you over a contract and says, I've got a new closing, and they tell you, by the way, this is the BC side of the contract?
Very much so. Because if it's the BC side of the contract, that means you probably would have just closed with another title company a week before, but it's not coming up in public records yet. So then I'll just need to know, I need to see the deed, make sure everything was transferred correctly in order to move forward. And there's going to be a provision in B1 letting me know that we need to make sure the warranty deed from seller A to buyer A is, or buyer B is good. And that way the buyer can now sell to the third person. So Schedule B1, this breaks down in detail exactly what I need to do to clear prior to closing. This one tells me I need a warranty deed. It also tells me that taxes are past due. It tells me there's a couple mortgages that I have to pay off. That tells me that there's been a claim of lien recorded in there and a memorandum of PACE financing. So this tells me that there's a lot going on, and I need to make sure that those are cleared. How do I clear them? Mortgages, I need payoffs. Liens, I need payoffs. Taxes, I will collect at closing. If there's a warranty deed, I need to make sure that that is prepared correctly. Is there an HOA? Do I need an estoppel? Do I need a approval? So that is all in there, and that tells me, and that will be in the checklist of your portal. So if something unusual comes up, I will make a new checklist and I'll add it to the checklist saying that I need now another permit that needs to be closed out, or liens or whatever. Schedule B2, this is everything that's not covered under the title policy. So that is the HOA documents, utility easements, any kind of easements that people have access to the property. Future real estate taxes. This covers past real estate taxes, but not future. Okay, so if taxes are not due and payable yet, we close, you get prorated, and then it's your responsibility to pay taxes after closing. Okay, let's see. So what is a lien search? So a title commitment tells me everything that is recorded in the public records. That's somebody making it known that, hey, I have an interest in the property in some way or another. A lien search tells me everything that is not yet recorded in the public records. What do I mean by that? So you find a property that may have code violations. Okay, they may have code violations in the future, but it's not yet because they've only received notices that they will receive a code violation if it's not fixed yet. So that tells me those things. There's trash outside has been cleared up. It also tells me any outstanding water bills. We've seen some hefty water bills, $5,000, $10,000 water bills. Who's going to pay for that? Was it a rental? Is there a city ordinance that has to be cleared up? So you would not know these things because it's not recorded in public records. It doesn't have an OR booking page or instrument number, and it doesn't have a notice to the whole world saying that this is an issue. This is just with the city. They have their own little their own little records, and you have to ask for those records. Why is this important? Because as you can see here, this tells me right here, taxes have been paid, but nothing is owed. Okay, code enforcement, permits, and public works. This is important for investors because you can also use this as a negotiating tool. Okay, so you are in contract for $100,000, but now I have this municipal lien search, and my investor knows they have to negotiate code enforcement. What if that code enforcement is over $100,000 or $1 million? It has happened. Permits. It's a pain in the butt to work with the cities to get those permits closed. Is the seller going to do it, or are they going to expect you to do it post-closing? Water, utilities. Who's going to pay that? So
yeah, because with water, there's no negotiating that down.
No.
So if you end up with you don't do a lien search or whatever, and you buy a property, and I've seen people do this at auctions and stuff, and they end up with a water bill of 10,000 or higher, you're stuck paying that. Code enforcement, at least you can negotiate it down. Utilities it's got to be paid by somebody.
Yeah. So you can go back to Mr. Seller and say, hey, Mr. Seller, you didn't tell me about these code enforcements that you've been given notice about, or this permit. It's going to take X amount of time and X amount of money to be able to negotiate that down. Okay, instead of $100,000, how about $75,000? It's a negotiating tool, and it's great to have, but it also protects you in the long run. And in addition to that, the utility company is the only company that can actually place a lien against your property post-closing. So the seller no longer has it, and they're going to place a lien on it. And now who's responsible? You as Mr. Buyer. So it's very important to know exactly what's out there, recorded and not recorded. Okay. Next, I'm going to
just before you move on to the closing statement, I've got a couple of questions from the group.
Okay.
What is the turnaround time for like lien searches and title searches? And do you work with tax deed investors for title searches?
Okay, so the turnaround time for title searches is 48 to 72 hours. The turnaround time for lien searches, unfortunately, I have no control over it. If it's Hollywood, you'll get it in 24 hours. If it's North Lauderdale, you won't get it within 15 business days minimum. And if there's holidays in there, good luck. So that's completely out of everybody's control. Now, I can run searches, but payments need to be paid upfront for those searches because those will be yours. Because you may not have a closing, so we can't get stuck with a bill. So if there's searches that need to be run, those searches could be ran, but the payment needs to be due prior to running those searches.
And what would the general payment be for something like that, especially if they're going to be doing tax deeds?
So the title search is $200, and the municipal lien search, that also depends on the city and municipality. That can run anywhere between $200, and it can go up to $300, $400, $500 from there. So it could get costly for the investor. If they have 10 properties they want to search, you need to look at the one that you actually are very interested and serious about buying, because if you're spending $500, $600 just for searches each property, that's getting into your profits.
Definitely. But it does. And I will say this, there's quite a few times that I've ordered it ahead of time because I needed the information to make sure that the deal was viable. And I didn't want to get caught at closing, knowing that the stuff came up at the last minute.
Right.
So another question is, can you buy title insurance after closing?
Yes, you can. If you buy title insurance after closing, it's based on the value of the property. You can't underinsure. It's not worth it to you. If you underinsure, if something comes up, what is good of that? And you can't overinsure. So you can't take $100,000 property and insure it for $2 million. So it has to be the value of the property. And the calculations for that is Florida promulgated. It's based on the value of the property. That's how much the title insurance would be.
So we had an interesting case. This is not one that our lead closed, but there was some fraud on the seller, and they were buying the property for $40,000 and the assignment fee was $40,000, right? So when they did the title insurance, they could only do it for the actual property value, not for the extra fee. And so when all of this stuff came up, they were only insured for the 40,000. They lost the actual 40,000 that they paid the wholesaler. And that was her first deal. So that was an interesting, an interesting scenario with that. So sometimes when you are trying to decide whether you should double close or do an assignment and you're looking to save money, you've got to think of those things with your end buyer as well. Sometimes they'll say no, they don't want to do that, or they'll kick off about the fee because they want to make sure that they're getting the title insurance for the entire property. So I have a couple more questions.
Okay.
Andrea says, I had a title search done on a property and it said it was clear, but now I found out it had open permits from 3 owners ago. How could I have this fixed?
Okay, so the permits are not going to come up on a title search. The permits are only going to come up on a municipal lien search. Was a municipal lien search ran at the time of purchase? If it was ran, did it come up on a lien search? If it did come up, did the title company disclose it? And did you sign a hold harmless? So that's an open-ended question. But if you do, now that it's yours and it's your responsibility to close it out, you would have to contact the city and do whatever they ask you to do, either pay the fees or if they have to reinspect to get those permits closed out.
So let me say it another way. Let's say that everything was clear to close and there was no encumbrances on their property, and she finds out now that 3 owners ago something was there that wasn't covered. How would one person go about claiming against the title insurance?
Your first step is to go to the title company that closed it. Give them the opportunity to assist in getting that closed. You don't want to quickly just file, if it's egregious, act like a huge mortgage and as foreclosure, then go straight to the underwriter and have a title claim. If it's for the permit, allow the title company to explain what happened and if they'll be able to assist in getting that closed with you. And because obviously things can happen. We've had some things that come up where it was the fence, and instead of making a claim, the new fence was paid for. So your first step is to go to the title company. If the title company wouldn't do anything about it, and look at your paperwork to make sure you didn't sign a hold harmless. And if they did, disclose all this stuff to you, then it would be contacting the underwriter and saying, hey, listen, I've reached out to these people and I'm trying to get this resolved amicably, but I'm not getting a response. And then and you got to look at your exceptions. Is there something on there that's not going to allow that to go through? But it's a lot about communication, and real estate is communication. I can't stress enough, communicate and ask questions. Hey, give them a chance to make it right. And if they absolutely will not, then move forward with trying to make a claim.
Awesome. I've got some more questions, but we'll wait till the
okay. All right. So the most popular with investors closing statement is a HUD because they're cash transactions. Okay, so with HUDs, I like to go over the second page first because the second page itemizes your fees. And I'm gonna go through this as if you were the buyer. Okay, so the second page tells us, or tells the clients, the commissions and all the closing costs. So the buyers are in the center, so the center column, and the seller is on the outside column. So these are the typical title charges that you would see on the closing statement. Every title company is different with their fees. So just make sure that you're looking at your closing statement and asking questions on, hey, why is this fee there? I know that, wire fee. I've seen wire fees be $100 per wire. Why? Why is it $100? It's one wire. So ask questions. I mean, there's a lot of hidden fees that could be put in there, and it's just protecting you. Okay. So if you add up all your closing costs right there in the 1400 section, that's your total. Okay, that's your total closing costs. Now moving to the first page, buyers on the left-hand side, sellers on the right-hand side. So if all the debits are in the top, the 100 section, these are all your charges. So your contract sales price is $225. Your settlement charges that we just went over on page 2, $23.60.10. You're giving the seller credit for the taxes. So the gross amount due is $227, $389.77. Now the 200 section, these are all your credits, okay? These are all your credits. You have a deposit of $5,000, repair credit, and then you also have a credit for taxes. So the cash due from you is $217, $170.68. Now you're probably looking at this, well, the seller is getting a credit for taxes and I'm getting a credit for taxes. Florida is weird. So Florida tax bill is separated by non-ad valorem taxes and ad valorem taxes. And non-ad valorem taxes are paid in advance. And that year is from September to September. Ad valorem taxes are paid in arrears. And that fiscal year is from January to December of that previous year, but it's all paid for on one tax bill. So us as title agents, we have to separate the taxes and give credits to who needs credits. Okay, so that's the HUD closing statement. Now the
So-
new closing statement.
Before we go on to the new closing statement, if I'm buying a property and I want to figure out, what my total cash to close is going to be after closing, all the closing costs and stuff like that, how can I get what's the easiest way with you to get a quote?
You can simply email me the details of the property and I can get you, because the app doesn't have the special quotes for investors. So you still have to email me and get the special quote for investors. And that way you can see what you're looking at. And if you're telling me, hey, listen, I'm the seller and I want to walk away with $225. Can you tell me what I need to sell the property for? I can do that for you. So you just need to communicate what you're looking to do. That way we know how to prepare the closing statement quote for you.
Perfect.
Okay. So the new closing statement out there is called the Alta statement. A couple years ago, HUD went away and it's now Alta and CDs. And it was a nightmare years ago, but now it's better. And it's a little easier to read than a HUD statement. The HUD statement, obviously you have to go to the second page first, see all the breakdown, and then they go to the first page and see those breakdown, and then you know what you need to bring to the table. This one, it's all there. The buyer side is on the right-hand side. Top ones, this is all your credits. And then you go through your closing statements, all same exact fees as we had before. And then the amount due to borrower, from borrower is $296, and the amount due to seller is $24,000. So it's really straightforward. You just go straight down. You have your sales price, you add in you subtract your credits, and then you add in all your charges, and that's what you come to the table with. Okay. So now we got through all this, the searches. We've cleared title. You no longer have permits. You negotiated for that clothing. Now you need to get ready for closing. Okay, so the first thing is gather your information as quickly as possible. So if throughout the closing process, you get an email from your lender, you get an email from your realtor, or you get an email from title asking for something, the quicker you get it over, the quicker we can move on to the next thing that we need. Contact the HOA.
Arlie has some horror stories working with me about getting information over.
Yeah, some sellers don't like to give the information. They like to wait till the last minute, but it causes problems. Like I said before, HOA approval, complete the intake forms, because we need to know what, all the information on there is important. We're asking for it for a reason. Very important. You don't know how many times I've gone to or getting ready for closing, and the buyer and seller, or both, or one or the other, they're on vacation. They're on a cruise. They're on the other side of the world, but nobody knew. If you have vacations plans, let people know. You know, everybody's moving forward, full steam ahead, and that will definitely stop things in its tracks. Confirm with the lender what account they want monies out of. This is more for regular closings. Lenders look and vet accounts, and they see that, okay, Chase account has the money, and that's where the money needs to come from. But you have a Wells Fargo account without a money, but they haven't vetted that amount. If we get a money from Wells Fargo account instead of the Chase account, we have to send it back, and you need to resend from the Chase account. It causes issue. It's lender's requirements, out of our control. So make sure you're sending out from the correct accounts. If the title company does not have the direct pay like we do, verbally confirm wire instructions. No matter how many times you get the email that says wire at this time, call the known number, not the number that's on the email. Call the known number, ask them to verify their wire instructions, and then you can move forward. It's very scary out there right now, and especially if you have free emails. Hackers are very smart. They scan Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo for keywords like real estate, closing, loan, cash to close, and they strike at the right time. They put urgency in it. Because they're looking at your emails, they'll have everybody's signature lines, and it'll make it look like it's from who you know. And they say, you need to get this over now, so we know there's no delay in closing. We need it by today. Go, go, go. That's your cue to stop. And look, very important, at email addresses, because it could look like it's coming from Arlie Ortiz. But once you click on that email address, it's stargazing at Yahoo. So they can just change the way that the email looks. Be very, very careful.
So I have a question regarding the wire frauds.
Yes.
What are some steps someone can take if they're victims of wire fraud? And the second part is, what is the titles company responsibility in this?
Okay, so the steps you can take is calling to verify every single time you get something new in the email. If you are a victim of wire fraud and you know early enough, the first thing you need to do is to let the local police department know. Also, you have to call the FBI and let them know. And the title company also does the same thing. All title companies have a, let's say, a distress plan. If something happens, these are the numbers you call to your bank. These are the numbers you call to the FBI. Most title companies have insurance for wire fraud to help with those losses as well. Their E&O insurance and things like that. Right now, like I said, it's the Wild Wild West. So there are cases that are coming out now that buyers or sellers are suing the title companies. So right now, there's not one easy answer because everybody's trying to do the very best they can. Fraudsters are out there and doing the very best they can to cheat you out of the money. So there's insurances that are in place. The best thing to do is always call to confirm. And every single one of the emails that come out of my office, it has fraud warnings. And on our website, also fraud warnings, like that's basically all you can do. There is no one way to stop the fraud. You can minimize it.
Yeah. I would say that the best thing to do is not have it happen to you.
Yes. So
Trying to
don't
get
care
it back is almost super difficult. I had another question about since we're talking about wires and stuff like that. They wanted to know if this will work with most money transfers. They're syndicating large multifamily deals, and it would be nice to have a good investment portal and not have to do wires.
Yes, so the Payments.io does have a limit of a one-time transfer. So you can, they're increasing it every year. This Payments.io came out a few years ago. So, and when it started, they were only doing escrow deposits. Now that it's getting more popular and there's more people using it, they've increased the limits for cash to close. Obviously, it's not yet up to $500,000, but you can send as many of the transfers from the limits. And hopefully next year or soon, they'll be increasing those limits more for more of the cash to close. But the secure portal can be used for any of the transfers.
Perfect. Awesome.
Okay, any more questions?
There are, but I'll leave them till.
Okay. All right, well, I actually this is the end of my thing, and this is my contact information. My main office is in Boca. But I do have other offices that I have access to around the state of Florida. So Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Plantation, West Palm, Boca, Tampa, and also there's one in New York City that I have access to. So just because my address is in Boca doesn't mean that I can't help you around the state of Florida.
Yeah, so somebody actually asked if you close in any other states or just Florida.
It's only Florida right now. So it's from the Panhandle down to the Keys.
And I would say that I've closed multiple deals all over Florida. She doesn't have to have an office there. We do mobile closings and stuff like that. It's super easy. I've closed properties in Panama, Panama City, Pensacola, Zephyr Hills, all over the place. So
yeah, so we try to make it as easy as possible. I mean, it's in my name, concierge title. So whatever needs to happen for a closing, we will facilitate and make it happen. I have Raw Notaries, which is remote online notary access. Okay. I have mobile notaries all over the United States. I have offices. I don't know why, but Taryn talked me into one day. She had this great deal. She bought you bought this house for what, $5,000 or something like that? Yeah. So we're like, we're getting in the car right now and driving 3 hours to make sure this closes. And we did. So I mean,
it was the first time she asked me when do you want to close? And I was like, I can close whenever, because I had the $7,000 in my bank account. I felt like a big baller.
I'm cash buyer. So it's honestly whatever the client needs. We will do our best to take care of it. Obviously, if it's out of everybody's control, I will let you know. I'm very, very upfront and honest and transparent of what we can or cannot do. And we will help as much as we can. So.
But you don't do any properties outside of the US, correct?
No, the property has to be located in the state of Florida. The person can be anywhere in the world.
All right, perfect. All right. Do you process sub-2 contracts?
Do we process them?
Well, do you close them?
Oh, yes, we can close the subject to contracts.
Okay, so would I be able to use an online notary if I was outside the USA at the time?
Yes, absolutely. And we will set it up for you. We have the state of Florida is funny. If you are a United States citizen, the raw notaries for the state of Florida can notarize anywhere around the world. If you are not a United States citizen, the only raw notary can be out of the state of Virginia. So we handle all that. We make sure that the proper notaries, raw notaries, are assigned to each individual file.
Awesome. All right. So what percentage would you estimate is closing costs in Florida currently?
Let's see, maybe like 1%.
Like 1.5%?
2%. But yes, it's not very much. So I would say around 1%.
Okay. So like Renee, when you were saying 3%, it's 3% total, like 1.2 on either side, give or take.
Yeah, and the 3% where you're really going for that is those are usually for the realtors. The realtors split 6% commission, and that's usually paid for by the seller, unless obviously you are drawn up a contract that benefits you to actually pay for the commissions because you're getting a great deal. And the seller wants to walk away with X amount, and there's enough equity in there that makes sense for you, then you expect to pay the total of 6% commissions.
Awesome. Somebody asked, what work position experience would you suggest for someone to obtain looking to become a title agent without prior experience or at a title company?
Being actually a licensed title agent or start working in the title industry?
They want to break in.
Okay, so to start working in the title industry with no experience, I highly recommend starting at the reception, getting your foot at the door, and learning the ropes from there, because you're really not going to get a closing position or a researcher position with no experience. If an office is looking for an assistant to the closer, that would be also a good way to start. My assistant that I have, she had no experience, but I was looking for somebody that I can mold and train, and she was the perfect candidate. So the most important thing to me was she was taking notes. She would take notes, and I'm like, okay. And she actually got it. She grew from there, and she's amazing. So I would say that the entry level positions, to get your foot in the door, learning those positions, and then working way up from there. If you're looking to be a licensed title agent, you have to be in the industry for, I want to say 3 or 4 years. You have to pass a course, and then you have to pass a state exam. And you have to have your supervisor from the time that you worked in the industry for the 3 or 4 years sign off that you did do everything you needed to do in order to apply. You can't apply without the experience.
Got it. So there was one other, actually there's 2 more questions. Where was it? On the lien search, does it show the mechanics liens?
Mechanic lien as in like the work being done?
Yeah.
Okay, so those are actually in the title search, because work being done, the contractor is going to record what's called a notice of commencement. This is saying that I am doing work on this property, and this notice of commencement is in place for the next 12 months unless it's extended. And whoever's closing that transaction has to call that contractor to make sure that their invoice has been paid. And what we obtain is called a contractor's final affidavit. And the affidavit says, I did the work, the bill is paid, and they owe 0. Or I finished the work, the work is done, and they owe $5,000. And then we collect that at closing. And then we have the seller sign what's called a termination of notice of commencement, removing the mechanics lien from the property.
Okay, so that'll show up on your title commitment, and depending on what it is and what happens.
Now, if it's a random person doing work on your house that did not file the proper paperwork in the public records and is doing work without permits, there is no possible way of anybody knowing about a mechanics lien because there's nothing filed. So a random person can knock on your door and say, I did all this work and you owe me money. Well, that's a civil matter then.
So here's a fun one, because this has happened to me a couple of times, right? Where a judgment's come up on title and it would have killed the deal, right? So do judgments always attach to the deal?
Well, it depends. Judgments are this wonderful little thing. So I've come up with title searches that show a million judgments, and it's for a Jose Lopez, and the property is in Miami. Do you know how many Jose Lopez's are in Miami?
Just a couple.
So those are not attached to the actual property, unless it specifically says the property. We're running a name search and it's a similar name. So the seller signs an affidavit saying these judgments are not me, and that clears that. If the one of the judgments is a credit card, let's say, and it's for $5,000, it is the seller, but the seller owns the property as his homestead property, it doesn't attach. We can file what's called a notice of homestead or a homestead affidavit, putting everybody on notice that we acknowledge this judgment, but it does not attach because it's the property. It does not attach to the property itself. It only follows the seller because this property is homestead. It's protected. Florida is a homestead state, and your homestead is protected from judgments like that. Now, if it was the IRS tax lien, then I'm sorry, there's no way around it.
But you can actually negotiate an IRS tax lien provided the seller is not getting any money, and it does take something, but we do them.
Yes.
But as you can tell, guys, like, people get judgments all the time, and sometimes you freak out like, oh, it's not a deal, but the reality is that you won't know unless you have a title agent that's looking through them and going, yeah, this one attaches, this one doesn't. We had one on a property that they didn't file correctly. So even though it was there and we saw it, the paperwork wasn't correct. And so the underwriter said it didn't attach to the property. And so we were able to close, and that person didn't get their money because they didn't file record the notice correctly.
That person was very mad, if I remember. She called my office. Why didn't you pay me? I'm like, well, why didn't you record it correctly?
I remember she called me too. And I was like, I don't know.
Sorry.
All right, I got another question. All right, so this goes back to the cancellation agreement. So if I'm understanding correctly, submit a cancellation agreement within a cancellation period, and you would get your money back. Is it an agreement or a notification to the seller? Because it is in the seller's best interest to refuse. Okay, so I'll answer this really quickly. When you submit a cancellation agreement within the inspection period, just because you cancel it inside the inspection period and your contract allows for it, right, doesn't mean that the seller is going to agree, right? So in that situation, if the seller's mad with you because you didn't perform the way they thought you were going to perform, they can turn around and say not sign the cancellation, which means your money in escrow gets held up at the title company until you get a lawyer involved or you come to some agreement with them, regardless of the fact that you're right. So that's why, especially as investors, we put up as little as possible, because if I'm going to put up $500 and the seller gets mad, I'm just going to walk away from the $500 because it's not worth getting an attorney involved in things like that. Now, when I sell my properties, right, to my end buyers, I make them put up $10,000. Why? Because I want them to think twice about it, about walking away. So the title company inside of that cannot look at your contract and be like, yeah, Taryn, you're right. You should be getting this money back. I'm going to give it to you. Now, if I put a clause in the bottom on the thing that says the buyer and seller agree that if the buyer signs a cancellation and the earnest money will be returned, then depending how I word it, the title company might be able to take that action. Right? Anything you want to put with that, Arlie? Regarding
well said.
Okay. Raphael is asking, what forms of payment are accepted at closing?
Only wire or direct pay. That's it. Cashier's checks. There was a lot of fraud years ago, and it's no longer acceptable. I know a lot of lenders say cashier's check or wire. No cashier's check. Personal check, absolutely not. And obviously, no cash. I actually did have a buyer who had over $100,000 in cash that they wanted to bring. I'm like, really? In cash? Yeah, my grandma kept it underneath her bed. And that's how I'm like, we cannot accept cash.
I would love $100,000. I used to work in the casino. That's all the questions I have. Any last minute questions anybody wants to get in before we announce the raffle winner? By the way, guys, if you make Arlie like super busy and she doesn't have time for me, I'm going to be really, really mad. She's my go-to title girl.
Stop it. I will always have time for all of you.
Yvonne's asking if there's any sample clauses that we can put in to not lose our EMD. What should we include in the contracts? I mean, I don't put it in my contracts because I just make sure I put the least amount in and I keep relationships with my sellers and so forth. But you can put in things like, Arlie, help me out. I'm trying to think. Earnest money is refundable if canceled in the inspection period for no reason. Buyer and seller agree, right? Something along those lines. You just have to kind of think through what you would do.
You also have to be very careful of how much you put into the contract, because that will turn sellers away.
Yeah.
They see more and more investors and like, oh no, I don't want to deal with all this stuff. So especially with like what Taryn said, you have a relationship with the seller and you're able to talk to them freely, then it's great communication. That way everybody knows. Obviously you have your contract to protect you as well. So you have your inspection periods in there. And unless you're dealing with another wholesaler or another investor, they're going to allow inspection period days. If you're buying like a daisy chain property, you're not going to have any inspection period days, and they're going to make that contract bulletproof from you being able to obtain that deposit back. So,
and for those of you that don't know what a daisy chain is, it's where a seller is selling to a wholesaler who's selling to a wholesaler who's selling to a wholesaler, and eventually somewhere you have an end buyer. And I would say that when I sell my properties onto an end buyer, I make it ironclad and then inside of my assignment fee, or I can even do it in my additional terms that I'm stating that the buyer agrees to release the earnest money deposit to me in an event that they fail to close, right? Like there's terminology regarding that, so that I don't have to have an agreement with them in order to get my earnest money. So let me see, we have one more question that came in. Is there a recommended amount or percentage for earnest money? As little as possible. And that comes into really your relationship with your seller. If your seller has motivation, you can put up $1, right? Some people will tell you don't have to have earnest money up. That is, in my opinion, that is not true. You need consideration for the contract to be valid. So even if it's $1, you know, we typically put up $1,000 because it shows that we're a little bit more serious than most people. If you're buying retail, they're going to want you to put up a lot more. I know we were buying one off market. I had to put up $25,000 to secure it. But then in my contract, it'll be like, you can even do like a staggering. So I'll put up, you know, maybe $2,000 now, and I'll put up the other, you know, $18,000 after the inspection period, so that I'm actually not locking it in. So there's ways around that. Any other title questions before we go down the earnest money?
I see one more popped in, and thank you guys all for hanging on here. Love that. Does your company work with assignments of contract and double closings? But you may have touched that already.
yes, absolutely. We do.
Both.
Awesome. Well, I don't know if I can quickly announce the winner really quick before everyone disperses in their day, but I do have a winner for the raffle. Drum roll. Oh my gosh, our winner today is Carl H. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Carl.
That's awesome. I'm jealous. They wouldn't let me join.
No.
It's just not fair. But that's a really great, I mean, that's a great prize at the end of the day. You get a free closing.
Well, $5.95 off.
Well, I know. But everything else,
free.
everything else your end buyer is going to pay for, your seller's going to pay for it. I learned to push it off to everybody but me.
Yes. And then don't forget, whoever's on the call or the seminar today will have the $200 off their closing fee.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Thank
I'm
you.
on today. Does that, do I get?
I guess, but you have the benefit of seeing me every day.
That's true. That's true.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Arlie. That is so generous of you. Everyone, just keep note that I will send each and every one of you a thank you email today after this webinar with all of Arlie's contact information. You guys can find her right now on our website in the bpmria.com on the vendor partners tab. She is there. So I will make sure I send you guys all the information. I will also remind you that if you attended this webinar today, you do indeed get $200 off the closing fee. And just so that today was incredible. I'm definitely looking forward to more webinars with Arlie and seeing her at our quarterly in-person meeting events to network with you guys in person. So many amazing things to look forward to in 2023. I mean, Taryn coming back with the women's group, women supporting women.
Woman
I
rock.
love it.
Good, guys. 2023 is going to be incredible. And just be sure to keep up with everything we have going on. I just want to give Arlie and Taryn a moment to give any last words or anything else that you want to say today.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me here and you guys taking the time out of a beautiful day to actually be online and listening to me. So I hope you got a little bit out of it. If you got a little bit, that would be okay. Feel free to reach out with any questions. The best form of communication is email. So just in case I'm not in the office, I can still answer. And I try to answer my emails as quickly as possible. So I look forward to hearing from all of you.
Yeah, she even answers emails while we're on vacation.
Yes.
I would just, for parting words, I would just say, like, for those of you that are really interested about title, like, send over some suggestions. This was just a basic overview of how to get from point A to point B. There's a lot that we can deep dive into. So it'd be really great to hear from you guys what you want to learn a little bit more about. I mean, if you've never heard of a ladybird deed, that's a really exciting subject that I really enjoy listening about. So we are happy to bring that kind of information to you. So both for the women's group in 2023 for BPM Women, I'm going to have to find some little anagram for that, or just for our regular webinars. But otherwise, have a great day, guys. I hope you enjoy it. Stay safe.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, everyone. This replay will be posted on our YouTube channel in 48 hours. So if you need to review anything we talked about, and all of you guys watching on YouTube, you know where to find Arlie on our website. So thank you guys again and have an amazing day. We will see you on Thursday. 2 more days, 1 day and a half, whatever you want to call it.
Don't make me stress. I got to figure out my PowerPoint.
Everything will come together. It's supposed to be. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Arlie. Thank you, Taryn and
My
Nish.
pleasure.
Everyone, have an amazing rest of your day. We will see you next time.
Bye.